Alex Cosper back with Dann Shively as we reminisce about some of the great times you've had in the air and on the air with KCRA and actually lots of different media. That's a map there of Sacramento, kind of.
It's a good map.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I made it. It's kind of from scratch, but I was just curious, is that kind of what you would see, the layout of the streets when you'd be up in the air?
Exactly.
Okay.
And as I was mentioning to you briefly before we started rolling, I know Sacramento and probably much of Northern California better from the air than I do from the ground. You know, we always carried a chart, a map, and actually I used AAA maps more than I did.
Okay.
I used road maps more than I did aeronautical maps.
Really?
But if there was something going on within 100 miles of Sacramento, I don't need a map. I'll just get up and go. But yeah, and I'm more familiar and more at ease looking at streets and landmarks from above than I am on the ground. I'll still get lost on the ground periodically, or just you know, I'll be driving to Monterey and thinking, yeah, it's a 3-hour drive. I could be here in an hour and 15 minutes if I was in the helicopter.
Right.
So,
right.
but yeah, that's exactly. You just kind of you look for landmarks and you look for.
So would you
patterns.
circle the city, or what would be your route?
You know, for when we're doing TV, it was just kind of out flying around looking for things.
Okay.
And it's amazing what you can spot from a long way away.
How high would you be?
Usually around 800 to 1,000 feet.
Okay.
A little higher at night, just for safety's sake. If I was lingering one place for any length of time, I'd usually go higher because of noise. Because you know, the helicopter can be really irritating if you're underneath it and it's there for a long time. If it just goes by, nobody notices it. But if you're at a hostage standoff for 2 hours just circling around, it's you know, kind of annoying. But you know, I'd always in the summertime, I'd always be scanning for fires.
Okay.
And it's amazing how you could see smoke from a long way away.
Okay.
I know just last week, I'm not sure when this is going to air, but there was
just whenever.
On Channel 3 there was a gas line broke over in rural Yolo County, or Solano County actually, and it was shooting up a big flame. And back in the late 70s, there was an oil well, or a gas well fire in one of the islands in the Delta, and we were up at Tahoe doing a story, and it was shooting it was like a big blowtorch, and I could see that from Echo Summit. As soon as I came over the hill, it was a real hazy day, which was really horrible in the summertime around here, and yet here's this bright flame burning that was probably, you know, 80 miles away or so. So you could, a lot of times I would see smoke and just go for it.
Okay.
And that's the first the station would hear about it. And we got in on some, you know, fairly good stories that way, and certainly scooped the competition. And in, you know, a couple of cases they were, you know, fairly big stories, fires or forest fires or a barn fire or something, or a building.
So you did this until last summer, right? Until July, right?
Yeah.
And then you retired?
Yes.
And I'm just curious, you've seen the evolution of Sacramento traffic. Has it become progressively more congested?
Oh, it's incredible. To give you a little background, when I started in '72 flying the traffic airplane, Highway 50 ended just past Watt Avenue. And then you had to dump onto Folsom Boulevard. And so I was around when they opened up the Highway 50 through Rancho Cordova. I-5, there wasn't an I-5, everything was 99. Interstate 80, you know, up above town was Interstate 880 then. It was a bypass. And there used to be none of, you know, it's funny, when the freeways opened, population followed, it seemed. Like I remember coming out this way, you know, coming east on Highway 50, and past Watt Avenue, there was a big space between Sacramento and Rancho Cordova.
That's what they meant by farm town.
Yes, exactly. And you know, that went away because again, in the early days, you know, traffic was heavy for about 20 minutes during the morning.
Yeah.
If you're coming in on 80, it was jammed up at the Marconi Curve, or if you're coming in from the east area, it'd be jammed up at Howe and Fair Oaks and on Folsom Boulevard and Watt, and that was it. And then it would dribble out. Now it's you know, 3 o'clock. If you're going out of downtown, you get stuck in the traffic there as a backup. And there used to be a reverse commute. If you had a job, if you lived in town, for example, and worked out at, say, Aerojet, well, you never ran into traffic because you were going against the flow. Now that's all gone. There's no reverse flow anymore. It's just bad in all directions. And then all the development out in Placer County. So it's really increased a lot over the last 30 years.
So you retired last summer. What have you done since?
Not a lot. I've been really relaxing. I do have to, mentioning fires, we, in 2010, we had the Galleria fire.
Okay, I remember that. Yeah.
Which ironically, and I'll tell you here, I almost didn't make.
Really?
Because we were doing a favor for one of our other stations. Here's a little behind the scenes dirt. We were doing a favor for one of our other stations in Salinas, KSBW. They were just transitioning to high definition, and they wanted some high def aerials for the opening and for promotion. So Channel 3 was going to lend the helicopter, me, and a photographer to them for 2 days. And we're just going to go all around Monterey and Carmel and that area and shoot, you know, beauty shots. So we get down there, and one of the first beauty shots we had to do was to get a shot of their live truck by itself driving across the Bixby Bridge, which is down in Big Sur. It's that arch bridge you see in all the commercials and movies and things. And it was a, you know, a fairly big deal for them because they had Caltrans out there and the Highway Patrol and Fish and Game to make sure I didn't fly too low over the sanctuary. But they were stopping traffic on Highway 1 for 10 minutes at a time while we made these sweeps over the truck, and did that for over an hour to get this, you know, one great shot. And so I had to go back to Monterey for fuel. And when I made contact with the tower, now you have to realize we're out of cell phone range, we're out of radio range, we're kind of incommunicado. Get back to Monterey, and the tower says, "Has your company contacted you?" And I said, "No." They said, "Well, there's a big fire in town, and they want you to get back in Sacramento." So, yeah, big fire, you know, it's probably out by now. So we landed, and you know, they said, "Get back here as fast as you can." So, you know, got back and still got part of the fire, but we almost missed it because we were out of town.
Wasn't it a night by then?
Not quite, but we got back before the 5 o'clock show, so at least we had. And again, we had some nice shots that you couldn't see from the ground, although Channel 10 and Channel 13 had aerial shots from the San Francisco stations.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, it was big enough for them to come up.
Right.
And we got an Emmy for that coverage.
Really?
Which
wow.
was a nice way to end the career.
Sure.
And then 3 days before my last day, my last day was on a Friday. On Wednesday, we had these very unusual thunderstorms and tornadoes, and that's when I got the tornado live on the air during the evening news.
Was that the first time that ever happened?
It was. I had gotten funnel clouds before,
wow.
but never actually. Here's a tornado forming and touching down.
Yeah.
And then we had a little later in the same newscast, we had another funnel cloud that was swirling around, and it never did make it to the ground. But it was a real interesting concept because they're using old technology and new technology. I mean, here's the split screen showing Mark talking about it on Doppler, and you can see on Doppler exactly where it was, and I'm showing this spinning mass of clouds. And then Richard Sharp and Tom O'Hara, photographer, were driving up there, and they were actually going live from their car with a cell phone. And so it was, they got an Edward R. Murrow Award for that. It was after I left. And I know it's been entered in the Emmy Awards for this year, so keep my fingers crossed. But
well, you've done a lot of great stuff, Dan. I really appreciate you coming by and talking with us here at
It's
SAC
been a
TV.
pleasure, and I hope I didn't talk too much. As we
love to do it
mentioned,
more. Love to do
you get
more.
talking, and gee, the memories start flooding back, and
yeah,
it's hopefully interesting.
Definitely. From a bird's eye view above Sacramento, he's seen it all.